My name is Marion Bay, and you know by now I am the host of television, and I have to say this before I get started. I'm so excited. I'm so excited because today I have another powerful young lady who is going to tell us her story about the violence that has been taking place here in the city of Newark, and not just in Newark, but all over. But before we get into the conversation, I just want to remind everyone that, as you know, some of you know by now, I have written my first book. It's called Broken Spirit, Let It Go So You Can Grow. It's about my 17 years working behind the walls, and also my years working in the educational system, because I was a Newark Public School board member and a school board president. So there is a direct relationship between education and incarceration. And so we get into that. And the most powerful people who are working in these systems, who are helping the brothers and sisters behind the wall, are case managers, and brothers are the case managers. And here's one thing I want you guys to know too. When I start talking fast, I stutter. Because when I was younger, I sounded like I talked Spanish. Now I am able to calm myself down when I get excited so that I don't sound like that. So when you hear that, that's like an impediment that I have. Okay, so having said all of that, I want to introduce Elaine. So Elaine, this is, first of all, on Facebook, I didn't realize that I knew you, right, until we talked last night. But how I found out about you and what you've gone through, and you're going to tell the audience your story today, was because you were doing something on Facebook about what happened to you and your son and the things that you have been going through. And I want to thank you for coming on today, because I know telling the story that you're going to tell, it is emotional for all of us. And I want to thank you for having the courage to come on and tell the audience your story. So if you don't mind, could you introduce yourself?
So my name is Elaine Lee. So I'm a mother of 3, and the shirt that I have on is called I'm Not an Animal, and the reason that I'm going to start with that is because my son came to me in 2014. He was a rapper, Adonis North, and he said, "Ma, could you get on this video with me? I want you to do the track because I do poetry." And so I said yes. So I said, "Let me see your part." He gave me his part. He had the mayor on it as the intro. I spoke to the mayor, and so the video is called Animal. And so it's basically talking about being raised in North New Jersey. So on the back, I have a quote from him. But it's saying they only want to judge you a part of it. They only want to judge you, they ain't being understandable. Being born in North New Jersey don't make you an animal.
Oh.
And then ironically, he got shot down like on the street. So 2018, March of 2018, he just came from the movies with his children. And he was taking the groceries out of the car. And somebody came up and they shot him. So he got shot in the neck and he died. Right, so he was 30 years old, and so also, ironically, I'm the chief of staff of the South Ward Councilman. So ironically, he got killed in the South Ward. So my other son, I have another son who they probably was after him. He had previously been shot, and so when they killed him, my son got shot again.
You're second. You have 2 sons now?
I have 2 sons and a daughter. So they shot they shot the second son first. He got shot previously, 18 times. So then I guess they couldn't get to him, so they shot his brother. That's the word on the street. So they shot his brother. So then that was March. So then May they shot my son again. He got shot 7 times. He didn't die, but the girl that was in the car with him died. So in the process, he did get arrested because there was a gun in the car. And through the therapy, his probation officer, the counselor, said to him, "Because you're going through this, here's a book, and I want you to write down your thoughts." He ended up writing poetry. And so with that, I started, because people didn't understand that I wasn't grieving the way they expected me to grieve, right? And so even the mayor at the funeral, they were saying, when a child died, a mother screamed, yelled. I didn't do any of that, right? I just felt like, I don't know where the strength came from. I'm gonna say it came from God, because it was this just powerful strength that I did not fall apart. And then talking to other women who lost their child, they grieve without hope, and I don't have that grief, right?
So you have hope.
Yes, I feel God gave me 30 years with my son, and I'm gonna celebrate him, right?
Yes.
And so that's 30 years of memories. I go on Facebook, I post Mommy Loves You, I share his videos, I share his pictures, and that's my way of healing, to keep his memory alive.
To keep his memory alive.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And so this, I want to start a movement, but I'm not an animal, right? So I have this on the front and have the quote on the back, and I want that to be worldwide, like.
Yes.
Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Children need to know that they're not animals. So
Yes.
within that, I hooked up with Sonia. She's a city resident too, employee. She had 3 children murdered. And then my daughter has a girlfriend named Ati. Her son was murdered. He was 4. She had a gun in her pocketbook. She was a gang member. He went in the pocketbook and shot her 4-year-old. So, and then a girl named Amanda, whose son was a gang member. So all the ones that I go into the school with are gang members. The children,
Yes.
but my children wasn't.
Right.
So the difference is, what we have in common is they all got killed in the city of Newark, right? So whether you're a gang member or not, my son worked, he was a great son, everybody knew him, and I guess, so when we go into the schools, I talk to the children, we show the video, and my son speak. The mayor even did it one time, and it's just to let them know that, and I say to them when I do the video that if you go to RLS Media, when you stroll down, they say they animals, let them kill each other. We're not animals, right?
Oh,
and
yes.
I want them to know that they wear the t-shirts, they rep you, but when it's over, it's over.
Right.
They don't come back, they don't see your daughter, they don't be there for them. So I need them to know that we love them, right? Because even before this, I was in the school system for 18 years,
Oh,
right?
you worked
Well,
inside.
22 years.
Okay.
So I worked at Chancellor for 18, and then the other 2 years I did Madison Equipment. So before that, I was really into the children, and that's what I believe, right?
Yeah.
I believe that we can save them if it's just a hug or whatever. So we go into the schools because my son feel like if he's responsible for 1 or 2 lives, maybe we could save 2 or 3 lives, right?
Absolutely,
And
yes.
so that's what we do. And then I do Zoom. It's one coming up this Sunday.
That's the one that you invited me to. The first
Yes.
one, right? Yes.
So I linked up with the pastor, Reverend Dunmore from Zion Hill. He called me, he was a constituent, and then in talking to that, he was like, could you do this? Could you know, I have people in my school, in my church that's grieving that don't know how to deal with grief. And so we do this, we go on Zoom, and it's like COVID I started with comforting through COVID, right? And then healing through trauma. So we do poetry, we do whatever, they cry, they laugh, and that's basically what I do. I feel like as a community, we need to come together, we need to talk, we need to cry. Whatever we need to do to help that next person, that's what I want to do.
The concern that I have, because right now we have an increase of violence that has been taking place here in the city.
Absolutely.
And with your working with the young people, which is something that is so important, because like you said, they need to know they're not animals.
Absolutely.
Our children are not animals. We're dealing with an environment where, because there's a saying, people, places, and things.
Mm-hmm.
So who you surround yourself with is important, and where you go is important. I'm from Newark. I live in Newark, right here in the West Ford, where we are broadcasting from the beautiful Akawaga Gallery.
Absolutely.
And I like, and me not even knowing this about you, right? I like what you said. You have courage to come out and share this story, because there are so many parents that have experienced what you've experienced, and now that you're reaching out to them, that is healing for them as well. So thank you for that. So what is the response that you get when you go out into the schools and you talk to the students?
So the first time, so we did university, we did Carver, and we did the school, is it the North Street Academy? Over in the old Marion Bolden Center.
Okay.
So in the beginning, with the first one we did, the mayor, he was just so excited, but what we learned from is that we would need guidance counselors. Because when we did it, and I had everybody, if your immediate loved one's been killed, stand up. If you're depressed, if you're being bullied. So by the time I was finished just asking them questions, the whole audience was absolutely.
Yes.
And I did that so the principal would know that. Listen, so our children here get murdered in the street, right? They do the shirts, they go to school. They expect them to be able to focus on their work. They got so much going on in their lives.
Exactly.
And so I wanted them to see, look at all these broken spirits in here. And it was people girls and the guys was jumping up crying, leaving out, and oh my God, why they doing this? And so I just learned that we would need guidance counselors on hand
Yes,
because it was so emotional. I
Yes.
guess it was like just hitting him. So that's what I learned, that it was a great response. They talked to us in the hallway. Some of them gave us their phone number. Some reached out to my son, and they just want to talk.
Yes, and that's I have to go back to how I'm relating with you with this, because many of the brothers and sisters that I worked with inside and who I work with right now were and are gang members.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things and you don't have to be a gang member
Absolutely.
to be involved in violence. But however, what I realized with them is that when they had issues, like one day I was at the office late and I get this phone call, and it happened to be a brother who was getting ready to do something.
Okay.
So he told me, I said, and I talked to him for like about 15 to 20 minutes, and then after we was done, he said, Miss Faye, he said, I'm so glad you answered the phone. I said, no, I'm so glad I was here, because normally I wouldn't be here, but God knew I had to be here that evening, so you wouldn't do anything stupid. And see, what happens is that when we're dealing with our people, or people who have trauma, because we've all had trauma living in America, first of all.
So let me say this to you though. So in the beginning, because you know the mayor used to do stuff and they used to say you traumatized, and I would say that I wasn't traumatized. And I'm gonna tell you this. It's something about that word traumatized. I just kept saying, I'm not traumatized, I'm not traumatized. So my son is in a program at University Hospital. If you've been a victim of violence more than once, he's a part of that group, and they had group. And so he asked me to come to group as a family, and I went, and in it I was saying to them, I'm not traumatized. I don't, maybe we should use another word, right? By the end of the group, I did break down because I realized that I am traumatized, right? And he said to me, he said, Ma, you're traumatized because you call me and you be like, where you at? What you doing? When you come in? He said, so you do all that. And then I accepted the fact like, wow. I'm really traumatized, even though I'm handling it, because I believe like this. What's going to be. I can't live in fear. I can't worry about him. I give it all to God, right? You say what you want to say, give it to God, and just leave it. And so the smile, like people say, all you do is smile, and if they hear my story, they feel all this pain. But I'm covered, right? I believe by the grace of God, we come to go, it's going to be all right, and I live like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, well, did you come up with another word for trauma, or did you just accept that you were traumatized?
I accepted it.
Just accepted it, okay.
Yeah, and so that's why I said healing through trauma, right? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because trauma is anything. It could be doing this covert. So that's what I know now.
Exactly.
If you lost a job, you could be traumatized. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And when you're telling your story, of course, I just mentioned that I wrote a book, Holy Spirit, Let It Go So You Can Grow. And in my book, I tell the story about my youngest son that was arrested by the police for carrying his own legal weapons, and it took us a whole year to get the case dismissed.
Death is inevitable, right? He's okay with it. You know, sometimes he feels because of the grief and the pain that he has that it would being born, it would take away his pain, and that got me. For some reason, it got me. And I looked over him and I said to him, you know, I'm sorry that you gotta go through what you gotta go through, but this is bigger than me. Yeah. So the only thing I can do is really give it to God. And so in this, it's still a healing process. I feel like we're saving. The people are so overwhelmed by it. They texting like we should do it twice a month. And so as long as I can do that, that's all that matters. I feel like I'm helping.
Well, one of the things I want to do once we're done, this pandemic is over, I want to bring in a group, so that we could talk to them.
Absolutely.
You know, because what I recognize is that when people are telling their stories, we touch so many people around the world.